Coming in number 10, we have he kidnaps naughty children. So where do all the elves come from? That is never explained in the Santa Claus lore, and it seems that it's a pretty huge gap in the knowledge of what goes on behind the scenes with the big man in the North Pole. And elves are a key part of his operation. Without the thousands, maybe millions of elves, how would he be able to do all the things that he does? Well, he wouldn't. And to ensure that he always has a fresh supply of workers, Santa Claus is kidnapping bad kids from all over the world and taking them back to the North Pole and forcing them to work for him. Santa heads out to drop off all his presents, but he's doing double duty. He's not just giving people what they wished for, he's also taking back a ton of fresh workers to come for the new Christmas season. Why do you think his sack of toys always looks like it has toys in it? Even when he's gone to most of the world, it still looks full. That's because every present gets replaced with a naughty kid. He hauls them all back in his massive sack and then dumps them in the toy shop and puts them right to work.
Now on to number 9, his elves are slaves. Everyone knows Santa has little helpers who wrap presents all year round for the big man in the red coat and white beard to hand out. There have been countless movies, TV shows, even songs about Santa's elves, and they always appear to be so cheerful and happy. But maybe it's all an act. And tying things in with Chase's previous point, how Santa takes naughty kids and makes them work for the next Christmas season, well, it seems quite evident that these elves, or kids, are working against their will. It's possible Santa has an army of both elves that he oversees, as well as the naughty youngsters, who inevitably will be taken to the most northern point of the world. Santa is known as the King of the North Pole, and for these elves to just be working all day long, wrapping gifts while cheerfully singing and dancing, all while Santa gets to kick back and relax, prepping for the one night that he has to travel the world, handing out presents. I mean, come on. He's obviously handing off the work he doesn't want to do to his elf slaves and calling it a career.
Coming in number 8, we have he's stealing from people. This guy is coming into your house and no one hears him. He's one of the stealthiest people on the planet. When he comes into your home, you're just trusting that he's not going to do anything shady. Well, what if he's doing something that isn't up to par? I mean, you have to leave out milk and cookies for the big man, and what happens if you don't? Does he go off the handle and put you on the naughty list because you didn't bribe him with some sugar? And what happens if he has some technical problems when he's going from house to house? His sleigh breaks down, his toy sack rips open, or any of the other millions of problems that could happen when you're delivering toys to every kid in the world. Well, he's not just going to stop the job, he's going to repair his sleigh, and he might need to take some stuff from you. And guess what? He's not gonna ask. He's not gonna wake you up in the middle of the night and ask you for a socket wrench, because A, it would reveal that he's real, and B, there's a good chance that you would just attack him in that moment.
Now next at lucky number 7, he inhumanely breeds reindeer. Everyone knows the wonderful Christmas song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He had a shiny nose and took the night with Dasher and Prancer and Vixen and all the others. But as we know, reindeer aren't immortal. They are, however, incredibly rare to find. So then how did Santa manage to snag 9 of them? Well, I think there's only one real logical answer here, folks. He breeds them for work purposes. And given that everything Santa does is under the radar, it's not like anyone will know how he treats the reindeer. And when it comes to getting things done efficiently, unfortunately, that means things won't always be done in the most humane way. What I'm getting at is Santa is breeding these reindeer inhumanely, and they likely live in very poor conditions. Aside from Santa, no one would ever really know where they live and how they're treated. Given that Santa uses them for literally one night out of the year to travel, I doubt he treats them any better than he treats his slave elves. Odds are Santa asks for cookies and milk because that's the one day out of the year he allows the reindeer to eat. After all, they're gonna need some energy if they're gonna do all that flying around the world.
Coming in number 6, we have there isn't enough Christmas cheer this year. We all know that Santa needs Christmas cheer to be able to travel around the world. That's like his form of clean energy or something. Well, how do you build Christmas cheer? Well, you need a massive corporation to set up decorations in the center of a major city, and then you guys have to go out and buy things. Just kidding, but you do need people to get together and share some love, usually in the form of caroling or making a bunch of stuff or hanging out with your family or being excited for Christmas. But this year, all of that stuff is basically illegal, depending on where you are in the world. New Zealand is going to be bumping with Christmas cheer because they've kicked COVID right out of the country. But will New Zealand alone be able to create enough Christmas cheer to have Santa go all over the world and give out all his presents? I don't think so, man. There's only 4 million people in that country. That means Santa has to take the year off because we can't get together to spread the love for Christmas. Like, think about if you live far away from your parents. You would normally fly home, but this year you might not be able to get on a flight because flights flights might be shut down, or you're worried about getting your parents sick, which might be a blessing for some people who don't want to see their families, but for everyone else, we need that cheer so Santa can travel around the world.
Halfway through list number 5, we got He's Not Coming this year. 2020 has been a year like no other, so to think that this may be the first year Santa doesn't travel the world to deliver presents isn't such a far-fetched idea. We're still trying to find a way to deal with our current pandemic, and although Santa is technically immune, more on that later, those whose homes he'll be visiting certainly aren't. Now that's not to say that the big man himself would necessarily be the one to transmit the bacteria from house to house, but as we know, it can certainly live on clothing for quite some time. And if Santa is going from house to house all over the world wearing the same red coat and white gloves, well, it's quite possible he spreads the bacteria of either COVID or possibly other illnesses without realizing it. Now, assuming he doesn't want to do that and isn't selfish because, again, he's technically immune, so he has nothing to worry about, it's still possible Santa opts out of delivering presents this year. For a lot of us, the greatest gift we could ask for this Christmas or New Year is a clean bill of health. And one way Santa can ensure he's not responsible for spreading any more illness is if he takes one Christmas off, given the unprecedented circumstances. As much as it may pain him to sit back and relax for one extra day, it may be for the greater good of humanity. So don't be surprised if your tree is looking pretty bare this Christmas.
Coming in number 4, we have Santa and Krampus are the same. We all know that there are two sides to the Santa tale. We got Santa Claus, who goes from house to house and gives you all the goods you've been waiting for. Unless you're naughty, then he just gives you some coal. Sucks to suck. But there's also Krampus, who finds out who the naughty kids are, the ones who got coal, and he eats them alive. Wow, dude, you need to chill out a little bit. But Krampus and Santa are two different people, right? Wrong! Krampus and Santa are one and the same. Some people have the theory that it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, aka the Hulk and Bruce Banner. So if Santa's traveling around from home to home and he has an encounter with something that's so over the top horrible, something that is so naughty he can't forgive it, then he will transform into Krampus, he will crash into your room and eat you alive. The blood of a child will return him back to his cheery self, and then he's off to deliver presents once again. How do you think Krampus is able to get into your home so easily?
Number 3, his blood cures COVID. People will try to harvest his blood. When Dr. Anthony Fauci revealed that Santa Claus was exempt from catching COVID because of his innate immunity, people started getting some crazy ideas. While speaking with USA Today, Fauci noted that Santa would still be spreading holiday cheer on Christmas, but he won't be spreading infections to anyone. And although that is all good and well, unfortunately the news led to some folks on the internet to get some rather, well, gruesome ideas. Given how long this pandemic has gone on and how many lives it's affected, to no surprise, people on the internet, mainly Twitter, started suggesting we harvest Santa's blood as that could be the cure for COVID we've all been looking for. Yeah, things got dark real quick on this one. So don't be surprised if people start setting traps around their homes, maybe Kevin McAllister style, in hopes of trapping Santa to drain him of that good.
Next on the list we have he is in the Illuminati. You can get into any house, you have access to an army of elves, you have wealth beyond anyone's understanding, and you possess magical powers that are potentially more powerful than nuclear weapons. Guess what? You're in the Illuminati. But this has been suggested for a long time, even outside of the magical myth of him. The image of Santa and the tool of Santa has been used to corrupt people for decades. I mean, did you guys know that Santa wasn't even red until Coke made him red? That's right, Coca-Cola transformed the image of one of the biggest marketing tools in the world so it would fit their brand better. They try and make him seem more wholesome, but really he's just something that a massive corporation uses to try and get kids indoctrinated with the idea of consumerism. Before kids are even smart enough to tie their own shoes, they're sitting on the lap of a corporate ad giving him a sales pitch of what they want their parents to buy them that year. Really, it's an ingenious plan by the Illuminati. Also, if you guys are hiring, I'd be down to join. Let me into the Illuminati, please.
And in at number 1, Santa profits off Christmas. Nothing in life is free, and although it seems Santa pretty much rules the North Pole, the guy still has to make his money somehow. If you haven't noticed yet, there's a reason why Coca-Cola has all these Christmas commercials featuring Santa Claus, whereas Pepsi doesn't. And that's because Coke owns the rights to Santa. It seems Mr. Claus is the biggest sellout of them all, as he's not only sold his image to a soft drink company, but he also allows people to profit off of his image by selling costumes resembling himself. Every year at Christmas parties, you see a guy dressed up pretending to be Santa Claus, wearing the beard, hat, and red coat. Obviously, they're not the real deal, but Santa has still found a way to make his profits. Even if he is overseeing all these elves and reindeer and holding them against their will, he still needs to house them, feed them occasionally, and keep them alive. And assuming there's millions, well, that ain't cheap.
At number 10, I'm sorry, Mole Santa can't come to the throne right now. Why? cause he's dead. I mean, look at him, he is so dead. Santa is a zombie and this kid absolutely knows it, but is stuck in his undead grasp. Bummer. And I have to say, you're next, kiddo. The only thing this kid is getting this Christmas is the ability to live forever without a brain and a new fear of baseball bats. Next up, it's Yeti Santa and his favorite deputy. Oh hey there, Santa. What's, going on with your face? Well, kids, it's mighty cold in the North Pole, so you need hair that covers all of your face. Good. I think I could be a more Santa. I'd be less creepy than him. Okay, but actually, creepy peepees out of a hair full of face? Absolutely not. Also, has anyone noticed Santa's hand there? Like, where's that going, bud? Speaking of Santa's hand, he needs to get it off that package at number 8. This Santa is straight up sinister. The package is one thing, his eyes are another altogether. This dude isn't okay, and neither is that yellow stain in his hair. It kinda looks like he's dunked it in a pint of beer, which would explain that rosy glow. Seriously though, Santa is supposed to be a right jolly old elf, but I really wouldn't want to crack a joke around this chap. I think he would shoot me. Is Santa high at number 7? Like, actually, probably. I genuinely thought that Santa's tongue was this young girl's ribbon for a really uncomfortably long period of time, but actually, thankfully, it's not. I really still wouldn't trust him though. Look at little Jeff on the left, that's a fake smile if ever I saw one. And Emily on the right, those eyes are screaming, help me. Oh look, it's Santa's killer cronies at number 6. Okay, so skipping over Our Mate Father Christmas for just one moment, get a load of the expressionless clown to the left and Donnie Darko the Nightmare Bunny to the right. Then there's Santa. Straggly beard and a mismatching monobrow, because male grooming is just not a primary focus in the North Pole, apparently. Just prepare yourself for number 5. Are you prepared? I really hope so, because here he is. I can't decide whether this child is cute or is actually the spawn of Satan. If she is evil, she and nightmarish Saint Nick might make a great duo of villains. Seriously though, what is happening here? Why is Santa wearing blue eyeshadow and what's happening with his eyebrows? And I mean, oh, so much going on. Also, what is that right eye doing? It's over here, but he's over here. I've also just noticed his tan driving gloves. I'm very disturbed by this man. Speaking of gloves, why is Santa wearing Dexter-style murderous rubber gloves at number 4? Okay, but actually the gloves really aren't the worst part of this picture. Is this the purge? That's my question. Santa's wearing a mask, and I really feel like Santa should never wear a mask. Also, you can see his cheap shirt poking through his red suit, which makes me think that actually this is just one big disguise and he isn't really Santa after all. I feel like this little girl knows it too. She's like, ugh. Why is everyone in the background laughing at this hellish scene? They need to call for help. I can see police signs, but where are actually the police? This kid absolutely called it at number 3. Santa is a literal ghoul, and this girl is calling upon the power of Christ to compel him. Also, this is one ghoul who can travel, because here he is again taunting another child. Another demonic Santa at number 2. Did we say that Santa lives in the North Pole? Right, yeah, actually we meant hell. Santa lives in hell. Even his hood is menacing. Also, since when did Hell Santa wear lipstick? Ugh. Okay, so before we hit number 1, I just want to give an honorable mention to this bunny. If we ever do a creepiest Easter bunnies of all time, then this honey would be right up there. Okay, finally at number 1, we have this red-faced menace. Ooh, I'm actually kind of lost for words here. Someone needs to tell this kid that this Santa is an imposter. Just look at his hands. Monster hands. The actual hands of a monster. Sure, he's scary with this strange scarlet mask on, but imagine what he's hiding underneath. Whoa.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him.
One of the most classic Christmas stories is the Charles Dickens novella, A Christmas Carol. We follow the life of Ebenezer Scrooge, who is a mean and grumpy old man, but when he gets a visit from a few ghosts of Christmas past, present, and yet to come, he learns some very valuable lessons that help him remember what is really important. One of the main hidden messages in the movie is really the fact that money doesn't buy happiness. Ebenezer was obviously a successful businessman and certainly had enough money to live a more than comfortable life, but he was still so unhappy and mean. He was even treating the people who helped him poorly and refused to help anyone else. Once he was able to take a step back and have some perspective, he was able to really open up and figure out what is important in life, and he certainly ended the movie on a much better note than when it started. In our number 9 spot, we have Elf. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video so far, because it really helps us out. Oh, Elf. Such a sweet, silly movie that really puts us into the holiday spirit. We follow Buddy the Elf as he realizes he doesn't really fit in with the other elves and takes a trip to try and find his real father. He leaves the North Pole for New York City in search of his idea of family, but of course an elf in the Big Apple is cause for some chaos. The hidden message in this movie is do what you love. Buddy sure does like to wander off the beaten path of what is considered normal, and of course he is a little goofy, but he truly does hold a lot more happiness and cheer in his heart than a lot of the other people he meets in the movie. His honesty and how true he is to himself really makes us love him a little extra, and I think we could all afford to take a page out of his book when it comes to being our true, authentic selves. In our number 8 spot today, we have The Grinch. Whether it's the Dr. Seuss book or one of the movie versions, The Grinch tells the tale of a mean guy who hates Christmas and all of the Who's in Whoville who love to celebrate. We see mean old Mr. Grinch try his best to ruin Christmas for everyone else, but lovely Cindy Lou Who sees something more in him and helps him realize all that Christmas magic. There are quite a few lessons we can take from this story, but one of its hidden messages is how, when you're feeling hurt, that doesn't mean it's okay to hurt others. The Grinch really just felt left out and isolated. And who can blame him? Everyone bullied him in school for being green, even though he couldn't help it. We can't blame the Grinch for how he felt, but it definitely was not okay for him to treat others like that just because he had felt hurt in the past. Luckily, Cindy was able to show him the love and kindness that he was missing, and he was able to realize his mistakes. In our number 7 spot today, we have Frosty the Snowman. Frosty the Snowman is a classic Christmas tale about a sweet snowman with a jolly and happy soul. He comes around Christmas, but when he has to leave every year, he reminds the children not to be upset because he will be back. So what could possibly be hidden in this story? Well, apparently Frosty is Jesus. I guess Frosty the Snowman is a house for the soul of Jesus to come and spend time with the children during the holiday season. Frosty was all about love, whether it was the way that he loved the children or how the children loved him, and this is meant to mimic the way that God loves the world and had sent Jesus to help it. Apparently over the years, the lyrics to the song have been made slightly less religious as to be more inclusive, but I guess this was its original meaning. In our number 6 spot, we have Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph is a story that we have all heard countless times. The reindeer with a bright red nose who was shunned from being able to pull Santa's sleigh because of his unique quality. Well, the message in this one really is not to judge people who are different than you, because everyone really does have something to offer. Santa was very quick to judge when he first saw Rudolph, and even the other reindeers were making fun of him. Well, joke's on them, because Rudolph really turned out to be the hero. Not only did he bravely withstand all of the bullying that the others put him through, but he also uses his special talent to be able to guide Santa's sleigh throughout the dark night sky. If only people had given Rudolph a chance earlier, they would have realized his potential much sooner. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Nutcracker and the Mouse King. The Nutcracker is another truly classic holiday tale. Whether it's the story, the ballet, the Barbie movie, or any other version out there, it is a story for the whole family that is a favorite during this time of year. It tells the story of young Clara who receives a nutcracker at Christmas time. Soon she is transported into the Nutcracker's world, where they have to battle the Mouse King and meet a bunch of friends along the way. While this story has many different versions, a hidden message in it is about imagination. The original author of the Nutcracker, Ernest Theodor Amadeus Hoffmann, wanted to tell a story that made us all remember our inner child and bring us back in touch with it. As we get older, we certainly begin to feel a lot more societal pressure that children seem to be immune to. Clara is transported to this wonderful world with the Nutcracker, but it is all due to her vivid and beautiful imagination. This story certainly acts as our reminder to loosen up a bit and remember what is possible if you really let yourself believe. In our number 4 spot today, we have The Fir Tree. The Hans Christian Andersen classic The Fir Tree is a tale of a small tree in the forest who is extremely envious of all of the other bigger trees. The little fir tree sees the others getting chopped down and hears tales of them being turned into things like ship masts, and begins to feel embarrassed because he isn't big like the other trees. The message in this story is a lesson on being present. The little fir tree is so caught up in where everyone else is and what all the other trees are doing that he forgets to focus on himself and just be content with his own growth. At the end of the tale, he realizes that maybe being grown up and leaving the forest like the other trees isn't the glamorous life that he thought it would be. It really is a case of believing that the grass is greener on the other side, but this tale serves as our reminder that the journey is just as important, if not more important, than the destination. In our number 3 spot today, we have another Hans Christian Andersen tale, The Steadfast Tin Soldier. This story tells the tale of a brave soldier who was made from a tin spoon. Because he was the last tin soldier to be made, there wasn't enough tin left, so he only had one leg to stand on. Soon he sees a pretty ballerina who is also standing on one leg, and he falls in love. The message in this tale truly is about faithfulness and commitment. The soldier really became committed to joining the ballerina. Through all of the trials and tribulations that he goes through in the story, he never gives up on his goal. Although the ending isn't exactly happy or picture perfect, the two still end up being together and the soldier turns into a tin heart instead. Although he faced death, the soldier still remained true and brave. In our number 2 spot, we have The Gifts of Maggie. This story by O. Henry is a beautiful story with a message that still rings true today. The story follows a young husband and wife and their tale of setting aside what little money they have in order to be able to afford Christmas gifts for each other. This story isn't meant to be about gifts or any material object, but more of a lesson on what people are willing to do for those that they love. This is true for any time of year, but especially around the holidays, we see a lot of people sacrificing things for their loved ones in order to make the holidays special and memorable. It certainly isn't always with gifts or the things that we can see, but that doesn't make it not important. At the end of the story, where we see how priceless their love truly is and how that is the most important thing, and I think that is something that we can all appreciate. In our number 1 spot today, we have What Christmas Is As We Grow Older by Charles Dickens. This one is an interesting read and is quite different than a lot of his classic Christmas stories. It certainly is more of an essay or a narrative than a story, but I think the lesson it provides us made it earn its spot on this list. Whether you're young or not, we're all getting older, and the older we get, the easier it is to forget what Christmas time and the holidays are all about. This story gently reminds us that Christmas is a time to be grateful, it's a time to remember, and a time to reflect. We all have memories of Christmas time, and whether positive or negative, it is really important that we take the time to reflect on these journeys that we have been through. Christmas is a time that can be used to let go of things that no longer serve us and remember all of the wonderful things we each have in our lives.